Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am Game Master Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video I am going to be talking about creating a Fallout RPG campaign, and I'm going to begin with just talking about inspiration, resources, and focus. And I'll go into much more detail as I start walking you through the process that I have been using in creating a new campaign. So I will switch views here. So as you know, I've been waiting on getting all of my materials for the Fallout RPG, and I bought them back, pre-ordered them basically back while they were on sale with the launch of the Fallout streaming series on Amazon Prime, and absolutely loved the series. Definitely jumped on, the fact that they were 33% off. Plus, I had like an additional coupon, so I was getting even more of a value. And I ended up picking up the starter the starter kit, which you actually see behind me there, the GM screen, the core rule book, and two sets of the trade cards. I actually just the perk cards. Sorry, the perk cards. So I just got the core rule book yesterday or the day before. I believe yesterday it came in, and I'm really glad that all of the gaming things that I bought within the last 2 weeks or so actually been arriving before I put a hold on my mail because I am leaving for a vacation very soon. So I'm going to be churning out quite a few videos today and then having them spread out through the week. So be on the lookout for that as well. So creating a campaign and starting with inspiration. Well, I didn't need very much of an inspiration to want to run a campaign with Fallout because Fallout, I've been a big fan of Fallout going all the way back to when Fallout 3 initially launched, and then I went back and I bought Fallout 1 and 2, and I have all of the Fallout computer games except for Fallout 76. I played it on the few times that they had trial periods, and I just didn't like it. So, but I have all the way from Fallout 1 through Fallout 4, and including some of the expansions in between, like New Vegas and such. So, inspiration wise, I was there with wanting to run this game system. Um, Additional inspiration. So, the other day, probably about 4 or 5 days ago, when I mentioned that I was going to do a Fallout campaign, probably a mini campaign or a campaign just focusing on 3 players at the table, and one of my subscribers, one of my members on the channel, and one of my current game players for my Shadow Dark campaign said, "Hey, I'd really love to jump in on this." And I told him the slot is yours, that's for sure. And but the other thing he said, and this goes back to inspiration again, the other thing he said to me was that he's not really a big fan of running something in the Commonwealth, all right, because Fallout 4 and the tabletop RPG is all taking place in the Lexington, Concord, Boston area, and so he said, "I'd really like to, you know, have it be someplace else." So that inspired me to start looking, and that's where we're going to get to resources. So I jumped online and I wanted to find out where all of the vaults are, or at least you know, a more than just a partial list. So I did that. I did an internet search and I started getting various hits on there's these, and then some were actually based on what they pulled from a map, on behind a person during the stream, during the Amazon Prime stream. And they said, on this map we expanded this map, which is amazing. How focused people are to gain information about their hobbies and their things that they're really interested in. And so there is a vault that is someplace in New York. So when I started looking through and looking for, a more precise map of it, there was a general map based on the possible location of it around Oneonta, New York. And so that became my inspiration to start creating a campaign around the vault just outside of Oneonta, New York. And now I get to the other parts of it. I get to the fact that I already know a lot of the lore of Fallout. I'm certainly not an absolute expert and a walking encyclopedia of it, but I know enough to start actually putting together a campaign. And then I have the various resources at my fingertips where I can make sure that I'm kind of hitting upon the lore, the way that my players might expect. And so that's the next step that I started to do. Was I started to look at and think, well, the vault needs to have a number. And I double checked. I used 1967, so 67. So vault 67. And then I double checked the reference to make sure that that specific vault number doesn't exist anywhere else. And so it doesn't. And so I says, all right, so this is going to be Vault 67, just outside of Oneonta, New York. And then I looked at a timeline and I wanted to see, well, when am I going to set this? And, I want to set it, sometime around the same time period as as the Amazon Prime streaming show, but it's in a different location, so I don't have to worry too much about stepping on any of the lore that comes out of that as well. Next, I have to start thinking about, well, many of these vaults have various foci to them, and they're going to have kind of an objective and a tone and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on that because I don't want to spoil it for my players, but I will start showing you some of the things I started to piece together from internet resources, plus the physical resources that I have with me as we speak. So first, number one resource that you will need if you're going to do something similar to this is you need the Fallout role-playing game core rulebook. You can get this in physical or PDF, whichever you're more comfortable with. Both, I always recommend get both if you can, because it's a lot easier to just cut and paste things into whatever you want to present to your players or whatever, uh, than it is to have everybody turn to a certain page or whatever. I don't like using the books at the table if I can avoid doing so. The other resource is the GM screen. This is going to provide me with a lot of mechanics as far as scavenging and such, and then as I'm developing that initial adventure for them, uh, which will be a combination, and I'll get into details on that too. It'll be a combination between introducing the game mechanics to the players, and that's what the focus refers to in the title, and as well as them starting to get a sense of their characters and such. So the GM screen is really a big plus to utilize here. It gives you all types of loot tables and everything that I will be using the as I'm developing the initial adventure. The other thing that I did was I pulled directly from the core rulebook. I wanted to have in front of me just a list of the skills and the attributes that govern those skills, and then it gives you details of what kind of actions fall within those skills. So there's not a whole lot of skills. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 17 skills, and then a bunch of examples that fall within them. So it's um, it's a skill based system, all right, and you're going to you're going to rely on your skills, and then you're going to rely on the perks that you get as you're leveling up, and you'll gain some perks along the way, and those perks, of course, will contribute to your character becoming more survivable and even more powerful along the way. So I like to have that skill list in front of me as I'm looking at developing the that initial introduction to the game and that initial adventure. So let me show you what I have come up with so far. So wrong wrong thing. Here we go. So Fault, Fallout Vault 67, the Deer Haven campgrounds just outside of Oneonta, New York. The year is 2297 AD, and it goes through. I wanted to see, well, what is the vault inhabitants, and what are some of their titles, and I started to just flesh this out. I have the total number of residents and then the total number of staff of the vault. So it's going to be a vault that had at one time at least 190 vault dwellers. Um, then we go into the opening scene and so on. And then I started detailing. These are my notes outside of the boxed text. And this is just a reminder to me how to set up for the the perception plus the survival test to do searches for various resources that might become handy to the players. So that's one of the first resources that I started to do was I just started to give a general outline and introduction to what the campaign is going to start off as. Next, so these are some of the resources, the images and maps that I found that I'm going to utilize during my campaign. And one of the things I found a website where you can type in a location, and then it will give you the Pip-Boy view of the area that you want to look at. And so here is the starting area for my players, and I will expand this to 200%. So this is where they're going to start, the Deer Haven campground and cabins. That is where the vault is actually going to be located. And then um, hopefully they look to go directly to the main town of Oneonta. All right. So that's one of the resources I have here. The second resource, and I really love this map for two reasons. Actually, let me make it a little bit larger. Number one, it's the kind of cartoony style of it really does match the art, the art style of Fallout to a certain extent. So that was one of the reasons why I grabbed this as well, and I will, as the players start, investigating the various areas in here, I will start having to flesh out all of these potential locations that they will end up going into. So that was another resource that I found online. Very, very simple to just look up any place you want in the United States or in the world if you're going to do Fallout in a different location, and there you have it. And then finally, I grabbed a vault floor plan, and this happens to be the one from Fallout 4. And I just grabbed the image, expanded it, numbered it, probably changing some of the form and function of some of the rooms from what is in the video game, but I will tailor it to what the players are going to be experiencing. Now, another thing that I do when I'm organizing a campaign or writing an adventure or whatever, I always make sure that I bring up the relevant, important pages that I'm going to be using during that creation of an adventure, even if it's something that's kind of like a hex crawl and things are happening on the fly. I am going to utilize the various random encounters and those kinds of things. So that's why I have this here on this page here, and I printed this one out because I'd rather have the physical right next to me. And then scavenging scenes. And I already showed you how I just cut and paste. That's why I'm a big fan of getting the PDF versions of everything as well. I just cut and paste this and then just retyped it up in every, a little bit. And so I will go further in to um, to start looking at the various loot tables. So if it's a room that could have ammunition, I'll have them roll and see what they find. If it's a room that could have armor or clothing, food, beverages, chemicals, weapons ranged, melee weapons, weapons thrown, oddities and valuables. And so there's a whole number of different things, creating scavenging locations. And here they have the, how many items you might find in some of these locations. So like a safe might have 6 items in it. A small room or small location scale, a single room might have 12 items. An average might have 18 items, and a large might have 24 items. And then you can determine what the locations are and how they're going to modify what is found and how difficult it is to find. So very, very useful, um, very, very useful objects here in uh, in the GM screen, which is why I'm a big fan of picking up GM screens as well, especially Modiphius, who puts out these um, these toolkits along with their game master screens. So as you can see, now intellectually, all of this came together from the moment that my player said I'd like to be someplace other than the Commonwealth. I would say I pieced together just the concept of where it's going to be and what the focus of the vault is going to be, and then started thinking about, well, how did the players get there, and then finding additional resources that I'm going to be utilizing. um, that all took less than an hour to really put all of that, like I said, intellectually together. It'd take a little bit longer to type it up and to start piecing it together. um, Getting back to focus now. So, and I wrote it a little bit more in detail, focus on the basics. I think it is incredibly important when you're starting a new campaign that you're starting with, potentially new players, and you're starting them out as, basically zero level or level one, if that's the way that the system works, and with no equipment and no, no potential means of getting quickly equipped up as well. They might have to do an adventure or whatnot. I also like to assume that when I'm starting a new campaign with new players, that none of them know the system, and so that introductory adventure that you're doing with them should be focusing on the mere basics, right? So they're going to have to make survival checks. They're going to have to potentially go, have some combat. They will have to uh, do things that are a social interaction, an exploration. Um, in this case, because it's a high tech setting, um, they might have to access a computer and do this. They might have to do some investigation, which again gets into more of a social interaction, whether it be between them and NPCs or them and the other players in player characters in their own group. Um, there's only 17 skill areas in this game. And so you should try to introduce the players to as many of those early on in the creation of your campaign, so that when they do get beyond that initial phase of, let's say, first level, and they start getting to second level, that they've probably encountered the need to use virtually every skill in the game. And they have had access to, melee weapons and ranged weapons, and they have some clothing or even armor at this point. Probably not power armor early on, but they will have armor of some kind. And you're just trying to get them immersed into the world, which I know some people are like, oh, what is immersion? Well, immersion into the world means that they're thinking about what their character is experiencing, right? So they're thinking in their character's experience. So what does the character see, smell, hear, feel, and so on and so forth, and they're trying to put themselves into the character's experience and step away from their own knowledge. And this has been something I've been talking about for a long time, as far as separating player knowledge from player character knowledge. And I think it's super important to do that. And I think that this game system is going to really open that possibility to be a smoother experience than maybe some other game systems where they are bloated with rules that you have to spend more time trying to understand those rules. And so you're taken out of the player character experience, and you have to rely a lot on the player experience and their experience with the game system itself. So and I will spend more time in later episodes of this series to talk about how the campaign is evolving and how the players are interacting with it, and and talk specifically about that separation of player knowledge and player character knowledge. And again, that relates back to my inspiration here. My inspiration is also not just to create a campaign, but to create a learning experience for players, to help them understand that separation, and to actually enjoy doing that, and getting the most out of any tabletop RPG that they're playing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be leaving for vacation, so it'll be a little while before I get back to episode 2 of this. But as I said earlier, I will be um, I will be in advance downloading videos, or I should say uploading videos over the course of the next couple of days while I'm gone, so that you'll still see videos drop every single day. So make sure that you subscribe and hit the alert button, and it will be a large, you know, variety of videos that you're going to see dropping over the next, 5 to 7 days. Both full length videos like this, video shorts, RPG a days, and probably a live stream later on this afternoon. So be on the lookout for all of that. Thanks for joining. Enjoy your upcoming weekend. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or at a convention table sometime soon. You'll have a great rest of your day and upcoming weekend. Take care.